What's the biggest challenge you face when you manage a hybrid team or a remote team? How do you shift your focus from managing presence to managing performance? Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 areas which you have to really focus when you manage a hybrid team or remote team. I'll explain each area backing up by research and with 2 practical examples. In a non-virtual environment, you can build the trust with your subordinates relatively easily because you can have informal interactions with your subordinates. You can have conversation during the lunch break or you can have halfway conversations. But these things disappear when it comes to a virtual environment. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't build the trust. You have to build the trust. You have to build the trust with your team members because it's the foundation of the team performance. Research says trust organization, they show 50% better productivity and 76% better engagement compared to the low trust organizations. But the challenge is how to build the trust and rapport in a virtual environment. Let me give you a couple of examples how to do that. I think you are having a water cooler at your office. When you go to the water cooler, you tend to talk with the other colleagues informally, right? What have you done yesterday? Did you watch that movie? Did you read that book? Did you watch the match? You know, these informal chats are really important to build the trust and the rapport with the other people. This is called the water cooler effect. But in virtual environments, this water cooler is not visible. Therefore, you have to build a virtual water cooler within the team. How you are going to do that? It's like this. Now you are having every week the weekly virtual meeting or the video conference. Dedicate the first 5 minutes for the non-work related check-in questions. For example, you can ask, what's the fun you had on last week? What's the best book you read lately? What's the movie you watched last week? Because by asking these questions, you create the vulnerability and the openness within the team. And these structured social interactions helps to replace the water cooler effect, which means it helps to glue the team members in the virtual environment effectively. What happens if you frequently ask updates from your team members? It's a headache for them, right? It's a headache for you too, because it's a micromanaging. Instead of that, you can use to share project management tools like Jira or Asana, because then the individual contribution is visible and this helps you to create accountability as well as responsibility. And not only that, leader look at the results or the outcomes rather than the process. So therefore, the team members build the trust towards the team leader. The traditional way of focusing is FaceTime, but it is irrelevant and outdated. In FaceTime, you focus on how many hours people are online. Therefore, it is necessary for you to shift your focus to an outcome-based management model. That means you should give the freedom and autonomy for your team members to manage themselves. You have to give freedom for them to self-organize. Focus on the results or the outcome. Then the people will be motivated and they will be performance-oriented. Do not track your virtual team members every day or every other day. Instead of that, set goals and review them bi-weekly. These are called the high-impact goals and these should be aligned with the organization's broad corporate objectives. Now, for example, rather than telling 40 hours for this project, the goal is to finish this feature by this Friday. This way, the employees have more freedom and time to get the outcome. Most importantly, they are motivated to achieve the results rather than being on the online. Remote work sometimes feels isolated and people get burnout. Therefore, as the manager, you can schedule one-on-one meeting with the team members. In this one-on-one meeting, rather than talking about the task, you can talk about their personal lives. You can talk about how they feel. Question like, how are you feeling about the workload this week? Can you disconnect from the work at the end of the day without having an issue? How did you cope up with that challenge? You know, these questions are really important and you can have one-on-one conversation with your team members. When you communicate in a virtual environment, you have to have a deliberate effort because there is a challenge of managing multiple channels. Not only that, you have to demonstrate non-verbal cues. Therefore, clear, consistent and transparent communication is really important if you just want to connect with the team members across distance. To explain this further, I will bring a theory which is called the media richness theory introduced by these gentlemen in 1980s. Here the richness of the media in the sense, the amount of information you carry through a particular channel. For example, the more you carry information through a particular channel, the richness is really high. That means your message is really powerful. For example, in face-to-face communication, you can convey your verbal message as well as you can demonstrate your non-verbal cues. Now, when you compare with video conferencing, it is less richer than the face-to-face communication. Now, if you think about telephone conversations or emails and the letters, they are less richer. Now, if you send bulk emails or unaddressed documents, these are least richest media channels. Now, the challenge is you have to communicate your message in the richfulness way to your subordinates and the colleagues in the virtual environment, but at the same time, you have to select the appropriate media channel. Considering the urgency and the complexity of message, you have to develop a set of protocols when you communicate with your virtual members. Now, for example, high complex and high urgent issues can be communicated via video conferencing or telephone. The richness is high. Quick questions, that mean low complexity, high urgency, can be communicated via instant messaging. Now, for example, you just want to communicate detailed information. That means high complexity and not urgent information. How you are going to communicate? You can do that via email or shared document. When you are having discussions with your team members physically at your office, so every member get to know the information because they can grasp a lot of information from verbal messages as well as non-verbal cues. Now imagine a situation that your team members spread out, so therefore they are unable to get the relevant information related to decisions as well as important issues. Therefore, as a leader, so you have to centralize the important information related to the issues as well as decisions. Therefore, the information related to key decisions as well as key issues, you have to record them and you have to store it in one particular place where the other people can access. You can use the intranet with authorized access, or you can use a shared document for that particular task. So it will minimize the damage, and so therefore the remote people also can access to the vital information from your centralized point. Alright, in this video I discuss 3 challenges you face when you manage people remotely. Can you tell me another 2 challenges you face when you manage the people in a hybrid environment or a remote environment? Please comment below. I like to see your comments. See you soon.